It's now time to speak to Paul Docherty, creator of Heart of Neon, creator of the Jeff Minter, the Llama Soft, the amazing documentary I've been writing music for. How are you doing? You okay?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
That's
Thank you very
good.
much.
There's probably so many questions. Firstly, we've worked together for a few years now, haven't we? On the
It's
Heart of Neon.
it's been a minute, yeah. I think it's since 2020 at least, if not
2020, I
2019.
think it was. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
remember when I actually.
I think we first spoke during or after the Kickstarter,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah. I
the
think I
big
was
one.
aware of it from the Kickstarter, and
Yeah.
that's it. Kind of blew my mind. But before we go on, I just want to say I'm actually a massive, as you know, Jeff Minter fan, and this is my Jeff sort of little cubby hole of all Jeff Minter games and all that. Next time I meet Jeff Minter, I need him to sign all that. So Heart of Neon. So let's go back a little bit. How did you come up with the idea, and how
Jeez.
did you kind of know you wanted to create something film about this game designer? Why?
Well, I mean, so I'm gonna have to go back. We have to go all the way back. We have to go all the way back in 1988. I was a video games graphic designer who had been inspired to a degree by Jeff's games. I mean, I had a VIC-20 back in the day. I had bought Abductor.
Wow.
And so, when I saw Grid Runner advertised, I went, ooh, we'll get that.
Yeah.
And that was the one. That was,
Oh,
VIC-20
yeah.
was not a great gaming machine, but, when you're however old I was, it was good enough. And
Jeff
Grid Runner
did
was the
some
one
stuff-
that. So again,
Jeff did some good stuff with the VIC-20 as well, as in programming wise.
Grid Runner. I mean, it was
Yeah.
fast and it felt, it moved and reacted and responded like an arcade game. Like the ones in the stand-up cabinet. So I knew who Jeff was. I got the Nature of the Beast newsletter and
Yeah.
and I go around claiming I wasn't actually a fan of Jeff Minter when I started making this film. I sort of was, cause I had the cassette of Ancipital before I got my Commodore 64. I told my mom that I wanted to get the Commodore 64 because it was for educational purposes, but it was to play Ancipital and Sheep in Space. I'm not kidding. So that's a little.
Wow. So you were. It's all coming out now. You were a Jeff Minter fan.
Sort of was, but not. I mean, so fast forward a few years, and the games industry was sort of done with me. The whole business changed. I had a falling out with some people. I moved to the States, tried to limp along in the career over there, and it was just done with me.
Wow.
Look up Montezuma's Return. So that was the end of my career, pretty much.
Oh, so that was your last video game you worked on?
I did some other stuff, but Montezuma's Return was the last big project that I finished start to finish.
Oh, right.
That worked until the end. Yeah, pretty much.
Wasn't
and it wasn't a marriage made in heaven, and that's fine. I think in retrospect, with the wisdom of hindsight, it was not. It was two approaches to doing business that sort of clashed.
Yeah.
They were my bosses were convinced I was sitting at home getting high on weed, and I don't smoke weed. It's don't.
Oh, I did.
So there you go.
Oh my God.
So. Well, and then because we're working remotely, before remote was a thing, there was no video conferencing stuff. So it was just like working in the dark, and they assumed the worst. And it was a good payday. It was the best payday I'd had in a long time.
Wow.
But the game didn't do well. It didn't listen to advice. And ideas are free. But I had a lot of ideas that ended up showing up in other games.
Oh, really?
So they were. I mean, they weren't.
Yeah.
They were reasonable ideas, and if we got in there first, it might have been a more memorable game than what it is. There are speedruns on YouTube. It's fascinating to watch. Oh, yeah. It's out there.
So it's Montezuma's Revenge.
Montezuma's Return is his sequel to Montezuma's Revenge. Montezuma's Revenge is on every platform back in the day.
Montezuma's
Parkavision.
Yeah, that's
Montezuma's Return is the 3D PC.
Got it. Yeah,
wasn't a happy experience. I mean, this bits of it are okay. I did a lot of textures for that. Anyway, so transitioned from that job to I went to through various shenanigans, the film program in a local college,
Oh, right.
in the University of New Hampshire, and I discovered that I really liked editing. I was part of their pioneer digital editing. They're just transitioning from editing on film to editing digitally, and I really took a shine to it. And then there was a sort of an ad hoc internship program between that college and the noted American documentary filmmaker Ken Burns.
Oh, right.
And the next time over, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then turned down an internship opportunity. And then my last year at the college, a friend of mine who had been there for a bit, is like, you should really do it. I mean, it's good for the experience and it's good for your resume. So, all right. And it was great.
Oh, wow.
And you know, it's a unpaid internship, but they would throw you money to do like late night stuff, and you know, it's just, you know, it's go for work. But they hired me. They hired me. That was great. And that was the beginning of that was beginning of my career, basically. Yeah, I mean, I was an assistant editor there for a while, then I moved to New York when my time at Florentine was up, and rose up to the ranks, pushed my way onto the Jodorowsky's Doom project because I wanted Mobius storyboards.
Oh, wow.
Mission accomplished. And then so at that point, so I mean, even when I was in film school and I was making movies and experimenting with documentary forms, like I would like to make a film about video games somehow. Like, and the older I got, the bigger the business got. It just seemed like it was the disconnect between video games now and video games then. It was massive. So I thought there was a story there somehow, and I was like casting about for story, and it was a point where I was going to try and make a documentary about id Software and Doom, until I'm describing this to this producer friend, and he went, "Oh yeah, I showed Doom to my kid. The kid hated it, so the graphics sucked." And I went, "Oh, oh yeah, good point." Had the visual representation of old games is going to be a tough sell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm talking with like Gary Linden. You know, me and Gary reconnected over Facebook, and go there for Christmas a couple times. And
right.
Yeah. I would having dinner, sitting around drinking wine, going like, well, you know, I really want to make a documentary about video games, and it was Linden that suggested it.
Oh,
you should
really?
make a documentary about Jeff. And I went, oh, that's a really interesting idea. But he lives in Wales, and I live in Brooklyn, New York. There's got to be someone more local and just as qualified, if not more qualified than me, to make that film. And that was the end of that conversation. And then, you know, like the following Christmas, the next time I saw Gary, it came up again.
So he mentioned it. Yeah.
It came up again. And then I don't remember how, but it did. And then so it was on my mind, and then I'm working on this documentary. I wrote about this today, actually, on my Substack, kids.
I saw it. I read it. So,
I was working on this project with a fairly belligerent director who they'd made stuff before, but they just seemed to be really out of their depth. I think they took on too much, and they were lost in the story. But instead of seeking advice from the people in the team around them, they saw everybody in the team as enemies and yelled and screamed their way through days and months. I'd never seen, I've heard about that stuff, but I've never seen actually anybody scream in somebody's face like that before over nothing.
I've never seen that. I've never seen it. Jeez.
And when I found out how much this person had been given to make this documentary, I'm like, anybody can do that. I can do this. I should. For me to do this nonsense, I should be owning this film, not them. Yeah. So I got on the phone to Linden, said, "Connect me with Jeff. We're going to do this." Jeff said yes instantly, and then took 18 months to agree on a date that I should come over and visit. Right. So there was that.
Yeah.
So that is, I wanted to make a film about video games that explained my version of how they were made to somebody who experiences games now, because it's that was one of the goals of making the film. And I mean, Jeff's story, once I looked into it, because all I knew about Jeff was like Grid Runner, Incipital, Cheap in Space, then Pause, then Lamatron, and then another Pause, and then Space Giraffe.
Yeah.
The thing that made me want to make the film was I wanted to find out why Space Giraffe. That's like, why? What was that?
Just that.
And what that led me to was neon.
I was going to say neon.
I
Neil.
did.
So,
I was
yeah,
aware of it, sort
yeah,
of, and Gary had talked about it, but in ways that I wasn't connecting with at all. Like
yeah,
it was always in the context of parties at Jeff's and Jeff's
yeah.
birthday,
He's
and
stuff
just these
like that.
other stories with a bunch of people that I didn't
Yeah,
know, and it was this story was this
yeah,
nugget was lost, and
yeah.
as I was interviewing people during that first round of interviews. I had a very limited budget, and I was just interviewing just enough people to make it look like I had a film worth doing,
Right. Okay.
but it
Yeah.
wasn't everybody yet. Just enough to get the Kickstarter up to be able to cut a trailer and have a point.
Sure. Sure.
Even in that first 3 or 4 interviews, it became clear that Neon wasn't just a visualizer like Winamp.
Yeah.
It was a thing that bound these people together
Yeah.
forever. It's like the One Ring.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
once you put the ring on, you're part
Yeah.
of this fellowship, and like that's
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. That's it.
So
Yeah.
there was
Oh,
that
that.
kind of
Yeah.
romance to it. There was
Yeah.
that kind of energy to it.
Yeah.
The way that Gary would talk about it on and off camera.
Wow.
This is something.
Yeah.
And then an interview with Jim Cope. And like what his first experience with it in person was, he got very emotional about it. I've
Yeah.
posted it on Patreon, but yeah, he basically,
Wow.
it was at the end of a very long day. They
Mm.
were having a bit of a party at Jeff's place. They'd been at a fete and then got kicked out of the fete because like the locals didn't care for the music that was being played, so they took it all back to Jeff's house. And this is like 2 a.m. The rager continues. They're flying Neon on
Wow.
the projector in Jeff's front room, and Jim's there at the back of the room, and he just loses it. It's just the most moving
Wow.
experience he'd ever had, and he
For
just
sure.
turns to Jeff and just bawling.
Yeah.
Rick Alpin had a good old laugh about it,
Wow.
which is pretty mean. But he turns to Jeff and is like, "It's just this light show was just incredible."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when they knew, as Jeff and who referred to as the crew, the inner circle, they knew that they had something special there,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, So I set out. My original plan was to make a film about the history of video games, home entertainment anyway, home video games,
Right,
through the
yeah.
lens of Jeff Minter's career. So it'd be like a bit of history, bit of Jeff, bit of history, bit of Jeff. It'd be
Right.
That was going to be the structure, and that's how I conducted the initial interviews. Once I didn't know until like I was like a year into editing, more or less, that this is going to be the thing. So I
Wow.
need to get interviews with like the crew, and I want to get some other interviews with people like Steiner, and there's
Right.
some other people on the list. I forget who now, because what happened was lockdown, COVID happened.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah.
It was going to be my tour of Southern England, and then that got shut down.
Yes.
And I went a bit of a tailspin for a bit. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't finish the film. I can't finish the film with what I got. I mean, I can finish a film,
Yeah.
but it's not a
Not
good
a film.
film.
Yeah. So basically, in a way, Neon just came together after those initial interviews, and yeah, you got more focus. You realised what it was going to be. Now, I was going to say I've seen several cuts of the movie, and it
Yes,
is
you
amazing.
have.
It's amazing.
You've earned your spurs. You've watched so many hours of this thing.
No. But one of the things is, I mean, I've done various interviews on podcasts and stuff like that, and I've talked about Heart Neon, and obviously I don't want to give loads away, but one of the things I think that people are amazed is like there's so much, Jeff interviews in there kind of thing, just Jeff being Jeff in front of you kind of thing, and I think people are just like, oh my god, this is amazing, you just have that time with this guy.
I really like interviewing people. I
Really?
really like the.
Yeah.
People talk a lot of crap about Ken Burns sometimes because he's an institution,
Yeah.
and he's a bit, as a pillar of a documentary filmmaking community, he's seen as stuffy and retrograde. But
Yeah.
he, as a first employer for a budding filmmaker, he's great. Example, because his interview technique is fantastic, and as an editor, you get to see everything. So like
Right.
the trick is the pause, right? So like somebody's telling you their story. People, especially like Jeff, who've been telling the same story for decades. You let them tell them the way they always tell it, and then you just nod, and then you wait, and then they have to fill the silence. So like they'll start talking about the same thing, but from a different angle, and that's the bit you use
That's
as much
good.
as you can.
That's good.
I'm not that good at it, but it helps. It's great.
It's pretty good.
So I really like interviewing, and I was talking
Sorry,
to somebody.
I was using that technique then, by the way. I was like,
You're catching on. Yeah, you're a quick study.
I
I like
like
it.
it though. It is. It is. You do feel like, no, but I'm going to tell you more. I'm going to tell you more. It does put you at ease, and you're like, yeah, there's more to this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm,
which I
I'm an
kind of like that.
I'm an active
That is
listener.
that is amazing. But I want to say I just love the project. I love being part of the project,
Okay.
and I can't wait until obviously it's out there for everybody. It's going to be there is
You
an audience.
you've been incredibly generous. I have to say. I don't know any other musician who would let me remix his music.
I think one of the things right. I think one of the things we need to talk about. Well, so
Hmm.
firstly, I'm a massive Jeff Minter Llama Soft fan. I pestered you to death to get on this project.
You
We're a
didn't pester me that
team
hard.
now. Yeah, you gave in quite easy actually. But I was just sending you music. It's like, it was one of them. But what I really, really liked is how you're just send me the stems. I'm going to do my own mix. So basically, you're asking for all the different instruments, all the different tracks from a particular song, and then you're just dropping things in and out, and you're doing your own mix of my music, and then it comes back to me, and then I polish it and stuff like that, and it just worked amazingly well. Did you have that idea for the music early on, or
I'd worked on this documentary, this PBS documentary. PBS is an American version of the BBC. So
that's
anyway, so
yeah,
this documentary, I cannot remember what it's called, but it was about the Latin American civil rights movement of the '60s. Anyway,
okay,
Carlos Sandoval was a director, and he had a relationship with his composer. And normally you just work with like needle drop, as what
yeah,
Florentine Films works with, and then you sort of get married to this music, so you have licensing rights and all that stuff, and it's a way of doing it.
yeah,
I mean, that's like 2001 apparently was not, or yeah, it was 2001 was going to have a scored soundtrack, but they stuck with the classical
oh,
because like that's
all
what
classical, yeah, of
you just
course,
get
yeah,
used to seeing the cut like that. Anyway,
yeah,
so Carlos was always going to use this composer. So what the composer did was send earlier tracks to work with as sort of placeholders.
right,
Um, I don't remember if he sent stems or not. I don't remember because like the stems thing came from working on reality TV, where you're downloading music from music libraries, and you'll get a
right,
queue, and like and it's just like it's a bit too busy, and
yeah,
not every library offers. Sometimes you'll get alternate mixes, or sometimes
gotcha,
occasionally
yeah, yeah,
a library will have stems, which is
yeah, sure,
great,
yeah,
or maybe just like two or three of the parts,
sure,
or so I found working with stems to be incredibly efficient
yeah,
because it means I can use a tune that I like that's otherwise too busy, but have somebody talking over it. You don't want to have like a whole lot of
yeah,
guitar and drums that are going, or somebody
exactly,
trying to make a point. Now, what I found when I dug into your music was it is incredibly rich and
yeah,
versatile, and a lot of things that. Excuse me, with the cops go by. Oh no, it's an ambulance. Oops.
I'm,
Um, good luck. So I was able to use music that was intended to be played one way in a completely different way.
yeah,
It was really good for the story, and then when you didn't yell at me, I went, okay, it's great.
yeah. No, you know,
But let me,
I loved
go
it.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I loved it, and then you'd send like a quarter piece back. I'd be like, "Holy crap, that's good!" You kind of changed places. You changed the feel, and it was just perfect and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed working like that. I mean, I've worked with a few other filmmakers who wanted stems, but most of them are just like, just write from that, just do that, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's yeah, I kind of like that creativity, that sort of teamwork with stems. It does work. It does work, and it's
That
worked. Heart of Neil. I mean, that soundtrack.
I was like, it was working. Everything was going fine, and then I remixed that cue of yours. The name escapes me. Reality is something. What is the thing? The one that's like the opening title now.
Backstage of reality. Is that
Backstage of Reality. I remixed that for. I've been working. The beginning of the film is always the hardest, and it's about to change again. But this
right?
is like I'd been working on this, and I finally got it to a point where I think, yeah, this is okay. It needs proper music
Yeah,
and proper graphics, and it was like so that I just readjusted the. It's not that radical a remix, not really, but it's like
good
I start it quieter and have it all sort of build up, and
building.
then when I drop it to a drum beat, and you have like an echoey drum beat that I just switched places,
Yeah,
and then made it big, and it was
yeah.
damn, it's perfect. I mean
It
that,
just
that song is in my head all the time,
yeah.
all the time.
I can hear it in mine now.
Yeah.
Soon that
I
I
mean,
was
once something clicks, when the material, like the sound in the picture clicks that well, it's like, yeah,
it's
we're pretty
amazing.
shit.
It's amazing. Like I did an interview last week. It's out in a week or so's time with Ballistic Coffee Boy, and we spoke about Heart of Neon, and I spoke about Jeff. I kind of had this sort of awakening, and I was like, I'm such a Jeff Gaines fan that I think his games have influenced my style of music and what I do musically. And when it comes out, if you listen or watch that interview, and it's kind of like, it kind of dawns on me, that it's like about a 5 minute period talking about Jeff's games and me getting into music. I was like, oh my God, this just went hand in hand. And, he was a big influence. So, I mean, that's maybe why that track works. I don't know. It's like subconsciously inspired by Jeff anyway. Before anything, really, who knows? It's amazing.
We'll print that legend. That's the story. We'll stick to that one.
Stick to that. Stick to that. So obviously we're getting close-ish to the end of Heart of Neon. I know there's other interviews, and
we're approaching picture lock. I mean, so there was a screening in New York in October. And
how did that go? How did it go?
It was great. I mean, it's nerve-wracking as heck, when you're. It was the first time I'd screened it for a live audience in the States.
Right.
Actually, the easiest screening I've had was screening it for Jeff. That was fun.
Yeah. Jeff,
there was nothing Jeff was going to say that I couldn't handle. It's strangers who have no connection to the film. That's terrifying. And it was the Kenilworth screening it's a hard audience, man. And they were fine, I think. And then and this New York audience was is a broad demographic. It was a broader demographic than it was at Kenilworth, because obviously that was a ZZAP thing. So that was a self-selecting group. Right. This was different. There was some film students there, some friends from the bar, a couple of people from an art auction house.
Oh, right.
It was just a real interesting group. And some of them had a connection with Jeff. A lot of them, most people didn't. And tested really well. I think in general the notes were people got. I'm telling the story out of chronology, and it was bothering some people because it wasn't because it was out of chronology. It's because they were projecting chronology onto it. Because I wasn't stating it. They thought like the mobile iPhone stuff was out of time. Like no. I think it was like my friend was like, it's because Jeff was ahead of the game. That's why. What people think everybody's thinking like 2017 for Apple games. Like no, it's 2012.
Yeah.
So maybe it was that.
Yeah.
So there's going to be additional graphics. There's a thought that's come up a lot from a bunch of screenings is what happened to Jeff's parents, who were so predominant in his career early on. So I've got to add a little bit that explains it enough. It doesn't talk about. He just grew up and moved away from home. It's just that he took charge of his own life. But that is not an event. He didn't walk through a gate and say, "Mother, I'm out of here." It's like it just happened organically. So I've created a bit that sort of speaks to that more. There's more Atari at the beginning. I've got in going to the States now. It's all like a little 5-minute bit.
Oh, that's amazing.
That sort of jiggers some stuff around. So it means that I talk about 10/2000 in the proper chronological order now, as opposed to it coming later. People who haven't seen this yet, they don't know. So this I'm referring to a cut that you'll never see. It's a little bit tighter.
Brilliant.
There's more information, and then the big note, which you just referred to. I'm doing interviews. The author Hal Goldberg asserts at the end of the film that Jeff is massively influential within the video games business at the AAA level and at the indie level.
Right.
And the note was, "Oh yeah, prove it." So I'm trying to prove it, and it's fine. I got Jake Simpson got in touch with me during the Kickstarter to say, "Why aren't I in this film?" And then I finally got him on camera yesterday.
Oh, how did that go? It
was great. I was super nice. He's a super chipper bloke. It was great. I was worried about it, obviously, because it had not happened for so long. I figured, he's not going to show up.
That's a long time, isn't it? Well, at least it's happened. At least you've got it, which is great. And I was
ready to go like, screw it, I don't care. I don't need this guy. Yeah. And he showed up. It was great. I've actually showed up early, as it turned out. So it was fine.
Amazing.
So that happened. Because like Jeff, the big story for Jake was that. I mean, went from success to success through knowing Jeff, personally. I mean, he went to the farm and stuff, but he working at Midway, he met Eugene Jarvis and brought Eugene Jarvis to meet Jeff at.
Wow.
We're not entirely sure. We believe it was like when he was pitching the Atari Jaguar CD-ROM at a trade show, an Atari show, and like, they all met and had an afternoon together. And that's there's no pictures of it though.
No. You know what? I'm sure
it happened.
I read that somewhere.
It's on Jeff's website.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's
I've probably already read it yet.
A Mission from God, I believe, is on Jeff's original blog where he talks about working at Atari. That's what I'm told. I haven't done my due diligence and looked that up, but if I can find it.
Well, that's
so I've got 5 people on the docket, maybe one more would be enough. Like 6, I think. I don't know. That's probably fine.
Yeah.
I think the idea is like the film starts with like this wall of TV screens with the names of the major corporate players in the video games business now. So what I would like at the end is to have a similar wall of bank of screens with faces of people who are inspired by Jeff on it. And that would be the structural mirror. That's what I'm going for.
Brilliant.
There you go. You heard it here first, kids. So that's what I'm going for. So that's a minor addition. And the other goal is to tighten stuff up. The ending needs to be shorter.
Yeah.
It needs to be. I'm following the indie distribution route with this film. It is like I said, the worst time in the world to be releasing a documentary film. Nobody wants them. If it's not about sex or about celebrity or about celebrity sex, nobody really cares.
Put some sex in.
So I'm doing what is the equivalent of touring with a band. It'll be that kind of thing. Partnering with computer video game related groups to do sponsored screenings across the States and the UK and presumably in Europe. I don't know how I'm going to make that work. I'd love to be able to screen it in Australia. We'll see if I can make that happen.
That'd be amazing.
One of my the Kickstarter was obviously a big failure for lots of reasons, but after that I captured some people ordered t-shirts, and I said, you know what, I'll just make the t-shirts anyway. So one of my proudest moments, that's one of them, in New Zealand at the Weta Studios, is one of the Heart of Neon t-shirts.
No, really?
Fills my heart with joy. An engineer at Weta bought one of the shirts. Super happy about that.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, you do know what we need to do. We need to make sure Charlie Brooker sees this documentary as well. We need to do that. We do need to do it.
I'm working on it. We'll
that's on my to-do list as well, just in case. I was like, I'm just going to pester him a bit and see if anything happens. But we'll see. So, final question. Question. Where do you want to see Heart of Neon when it's released? I know we're going to do screenings and stuff like that, but where would be, in your mind, the ideal home available for everybody to see it?
Well, here's the thing. So my allow me to take the scenic route to answer this question. I took on Jonathan Rees as a consultant. He's an independent filmmaker, runs a distribution company now. He would be most notable for doing the films that he did with the Survival Research Labs back in the 80s.
Oh, right.
When he was 18.
Wow.
So he's got pedigree as far as I'm concerned, and he did Bomb It, which is about graffiti, I think. Anyway, so he said when you're trying to come up with a strategy, a distribution plan, figure out where your audience is watching media. How do they consume content, to use the gross vernacular of the trade? So I don't know at this point. I mean, I originally thought, so the plan I had in 2019 is gone completely now. I mean, a lot of things changed very rapidly. But even then, like Amazon and Netflix had stopped buying about then. I wanted to live on Amazon. Now that's thought was good. They do not buy this kind of stuff now, or if they do, it's as an ad to get people to watch other stuff. It's not. there's no return on the. It's not really. It's just like it's so unimportant to Amazon that it is the first on the block when it comes to making room on the server. Do you know what I mean? It's not really a permanent home.
Yeah.
So I am a big advocate for physical media. So there will be physical versions of the film.
Amazing.
I believe that the Heart of Neon website is probably the place that will be hosting the digital version of the film.
Right.
And part of my original goal, which I still believe is valid, is to find a documentary film library, such as Film Movement, which is an Australian company. They have a great library. To find a home with one of those kinds of documentary preservation kind of groups that will keep it alive, because one of the points of making this film is as legacy, is like, as it's not necessarily, its only value is not just now but later, when people get some perspective on Jeff's career. I want this film to be available, so it belongs with a group who will take care of it. My top pick is Film Movement. I haven't talked to them. I have no idea if they're interested, but that's the plan. But so permanence is a permanent version of this film is really what I want. So that's why I'm pushing. There will be physical versions of this film, definitely. But there'll also be like multiple digital versions of this too. It's going to bounce around. There's
that's brilliant.
There's stuff we can't talk about yet that's happening and all that kind of stuff. So
I'll just nod.
And it's all very exciting and stuff. So people keep asking me, like, what is my goal for the film? It's like to get people to see it. I would love Jeff Minter's name to be a household name. You know what I mean? That would be great. And I don't think this film is the one to do it, but I think it will help. You know? I used to joke that this is the film that's going to get Jeffy's knighthood. He's never going to get a knighthood. But having my mum know who Jeff Minter is, that's close. That's in my book,
That you know what? That is so good. Yeah. My dad keeps asking me. He's like, "How's the movie going?" Yeah, and so honestly, he's 82 and he's loving the whole thing. And I've like showed him all my Jeff Minter stuff. He's seen bits and pieces of the movies, heard some of the music.
Bless your dad.
It's it started off and I'd be like, I messaged the filmmaker today and blah, blah, blah. But now I message the filmmaker and he's like, Paul. I was like, yeah, Paul. He knows everything about it. It's great. It was so good, honestly. In fact, you know what? I wanted to say something. One of the things, I don't think I told you on the day when we went to Kenilworth to the ZZAP Live. Jeff was there, Giles was there. And that was actually, I don't know if I told you this, that was actually my mum's birthday and she passed away last year. And it all came, I forgot to tell you, I'm not a religious or a spiritual person at all. I'm actually an atheist. But, I was, when you got in touch, you're like, you need to be there. And I was like, oh my God, it's my mum's birthday. Wouldn't it be cool if it all went really well and I got on with Jeff and Giles and me and Paul got
you did.
It was amazing. Well, it was amazing 2 days because we got to screen it to Jeff the next day, and I was literally like, "Oh my God, that was amazing!" So it was my mum's birthday as well, so it was. It
was a really good weekend. I got to meet you for the first time, which is great because we'd only been communicating via messaging, basically. So that was great. And then Jeff, after I basically fretted for 2 hours, like Jeff isn't going to show up, and then he showed up, and it was great. And that screening went really okay, and then like the morning screening for Jeff went perfectly. It was great.
It was amazing. Well, the 30-minute screening and the Q&A on the main day, when you said to me, right, okay, your job when I'm doing the intro, wrangled Jeff and Giles, and I was like, oh my God, this is good. I was like really nervous, like finding him.
You were so gung ho. You didn't let me know that you were that worried about it.
Well, no, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't think, my God, I mean, this is like kind of one of my heroes, and one of them. So you started the you started the intro to the 30-minute movie clip. I was standing outside. I was like, right, better go get Jeff. Jeff just wandered across to me and stood with me for that entire 30+ minutes, and we just chatted, and it was the most amazing thing. And then you're like,
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So literally, I stood outside the door. We were looking in now and again, and he was like, but we were just chatting. I was like, oh man, Tempest 2000. I spent days playing that game. It was amazing, and we were just talking about games. he was talking about being on Black Mirror as well. How like
Oh,
Tony
really?
Brooker's like people
Oh,
just
yeah.
phoned him because it's just like, do you fancy being in this? He's like, it was great. It's great. You know, that all happened while you're doing the intro and screening those 30 minutes. So it was good. It was a good day. And then the next day was good when we got to screen it to Jeff and Giles, and they liked it. So it was kind of.
I was getting the applause after the excerpt finished, and then Jeff and Giles just like become framed in the doorway, like, and it was like, you know, a llama and a goat just walked into view, because like they're just like that, just easy breezy. Okay, what's happening here? So I just introduced, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Minter, and he walked in, and the crowd parted. And it was just great. It was a rock and roll moment.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
It felt very showbiz for a second. I felt pretty showbiz.
Yeah, it was.
And then the Q&A was great. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for helping with that. It was great. It was a great weekend.
I love being there. I love being there. It was great. Hanging out with you, hanging out with them. It was a good event. That was a really.
I was so tired. You were really patient, because I was like just a zombie by the end of that day.
We went to that thing at night. We went to that music thing at night. You're like, I'm gonna have to get to bed.
It's like
just floating in. You floated in.
9:30. It's like, I think it's hitting me. 36 hours on my feet. Let's go to bed.
You did well.
Night,
you
mate.
did well. You did so well, because you flew straight in. You had to do the intro. You had to do the screening. You had to do the Q&A. You did all that. You rocked that. It was really good. It was good. It was great. So so well done. It was.
I work well under pressure, apparently.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw that firsthand. So you did well. Well, that was great. I've probably got a million more questions to ask you, but we're probably going to run out of time. So this is good. It was good. It was good catching up and all.
Thank you, sir.
And I can't wait to down.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only onward and upward here. Like we're approaching like Picture Luck, and then I don't know. I'm developing a distribution plan as I'm editing it. So hopefully everything coincides in like 2024, first quarter 2024. Stay tuned. I'd highly recommend everybody sign up for the Heart of Neon newsletter. Go to the Heart of Neon page. There's a button right on the front. The newsletter is where you'll get like the latest information, updates, and as the film rolls out, people on the mailing list will find out first. So highly recommend it.
I as soon as that comes through, I read it all. I just sit down, you can read it all. I'm enjoying it, so keep coming and sign up.
I'm really glad to hear it. Excellent.
Definitely. Great.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Thanks for that. It's been good. It's been great. Great to catch up again. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely. We can make this a regular thing.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. That was really good. No, cheers for that.